In October of 2006, Magic printed Time Spiral, a set of about 300 cards released alongside two other Magic sets, all focused around exploratory and new design. But alongside the release of Time Spiral block, Magic started to see a slight decline of something very important: player acquisition. So R&D had a solution: the New World Order, a premise where the vast majority of cards in packs, commons and uncommons, stayed intuitive, while cards that were more rare had room to do something more interesting. Mark Rosewater, head of Magic's design team, sets up a few rules for the way the New World Order applies to uncommons in a short Making Magic article from 2013. And they are as follows. Commons and uncommons shouldn't include words above a 5th grade vocabulary. Commons and uncommons shouldn't have more than 12 words of rule text or 10 words of reminder text unless there are at least 10 other cards with that same reminder text. Commons and uncommons should very sparingly use activated abilities. And commons and uncommons shouldn't make tokens. So let's take a look here at Svella Ice Shaper and go back over our list. Svella has a name that most 5th graders don't know how to pronounce, and in fact I'm probably mispronouncing right now. She has a massive 51 words of rules text, she has more than one activated ability, and she makes named tokens. But here's the thing. Svella is an example of a kind of card that has been making sure players know how to play the game since the same year that article was written. And that card that by all counts should confuse the hell out of new players is the same thing that makes sure they understand the game. So, we've already gotten a look at Svella. Before we dive into both Kaldheim's unique use of Signpost uncommons and the way that the game has changed over the years, let's take a look at the first ever cycle of Signpost uncommons. No, before that. No, before that too. There we go. Magic knew the use of Signpost uncommons long before they actually came to exist, using things like this 10-card cycle in Alara to fulfill a couple clear uses. For one, the cycle pushes players into a second or third color. In Draft, players are encouraged to stay open and avoid locking into 2 colors early, and new players especially are prone to stick within one color they know or like most. A card that is a solid draft pick in 2 colors helps push players into new colors and teach them how to splash into colors in Draft intuitively. In addition, these cards are a prototype to showing players what their draft archetype strategy is. Naya's draft archetype in the set was 5 or more power mattering, so Bull Ceradon helps to nudge players slightly in the right draft direction with a strong threat. Sure, Drum Hunter might seem bad the first time that pack goes past you, but once you have a Bull Ceradon, maybe getting 5 power and getting a bit more mana to your name seems a bit more doable. These cards are far from today's Signpost uncommons, trying to stay more simple and subtle in a way that they push you towards a given archetype. But they don't teach you enough to fully let a player understand an archetype from one card. So let's hop forward about 5 years to the time where Signpost really got a chance to come into their own. Theros. Yeah, the set's main appeal was a mystical world full of Greek pop culture where you got to play with actual gods and monsters, but all of that seems a bit dull when compared to the little number 10 that tells me they had a full cycle. And what a cycle it is. Sure, about half of them have more than 12 words of rules text, but that rules text is about as useful as a multi-paragraph primer to the set's limited environment. Battlewise Hoplite couldn't tell drafters that the blue-white archetype was heroic louder if it had a big sign that said exactly that, and Chronicler of Heroes may well be the best card in the set at telling you to pick cards that put +1/+1 counters on creatures. Theros' signposts show us what they have to offer. So let's jump from the signpost before signposts even existed to designer and host of Good Morning Magic, Gavin Voorhey, talking about how Signpost uncommons only started in Magic Origins.
Eventually we had a new idea we wanted to try out: Signpost uncommons. We started it in Magic Origins. What these were 10 multicolored uncommons, one for each of the color pairs, that really helped show off what that color combination was trying to do. If I saw a blue-red card that was all about artifacts, then it's a pretty good hint I should fill my deck full of artifacts. The second thing it did is it really helped players find their second color. Let's say you're drafting and you're mono green so far, and you're kind of looking for a second color to pick up, and a green-black-gold card comes around. Well, hey, no one else has taken it, you can probably grab it and safely be green-black. And those two things work out really well in tandem. If you draft the green-black card because you're looking for a second color, well hey, you're gonna start caring about how many elves you have. This worked out so well in Magic Origins, we've continued it in most sets all the way up to today. And it turns out that creating these cards is not only great for Limited, but for Constructed too. From new deck builders looking for handholds as they try and build their first decks, all the way up to fun theme decks at the top of Constructed play like Winding Constrictor. This has created some really fun 2-color cards.
So, now we know what Signpost uncommons do. we've hit our 3 bullet points. So let's fast forward past about 5 years of Magic history to get to Kaldheim. Signposts started like those in Theros or Magic Origins, simple cards that almost always ended up a bit more complicated or stronger than the New World Order would allow, but they changed a bit more recently. Take cards like Voltaic Brawler and Winding Constrictor, 2 cards strong enough within their archetypes to be playable in non-draft decks, and both a bit hard to parse on the first few read-throughs. But they're so good at teaching players to deck build that the New World Order just doesn't apply. Move to Dominaria, who switched things up a bit by having all their signposts as legendary creatures for the set all about the old legends of Magic, and finish off right before Kaldheim, with Double Master's jumbled mix of reprinting old signposts from the same archetypes, perfect for Magic's reprint-only Master sets. So what makes Kaldheim's signposts so special? For one, we get 2 cycles of them. One group of legendary creatures to help with archetypes, one group of sagas, and with this new set of cards, Magic seems to have shaken their older fear of players not understanding, because signposts do enough to help make players understand. What's excess damage? Well, every Magic player remembers Trample. Mentioning the foretell mechanic with no reminder text, players will get it from the rest of the cards in their pack. Signposts help tell you what to do because of how they've worked with the cards around them in their archetypes for years, and Kaldheim has finally decided that the cards teach you how to use them enough, and players will figure it out.